Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video, I want to have a look at Solana. Now, Solana, I'm sure you've heard about it if you've been anywhere near crypto in the last few weeks because it's been getting a huge amount of press, and rightfully so, because ever since October, the crypto has just been going crazy. It's just been rally after rally after rally, and we've had huge percent moves to the upside, like, 30% in a few days, again, 50%. Moves from here, like 60%. It's been very impressive. And even the last few days, we sort of made another big push up where we went from $72 to just under $100. We're currently trading at $96. Solana's coming up to $100. I want to give my opinion on where I think Solana might go. It's looking very, it's currently looking very bullish, but it's $100 resistance might be a bit of a mental barrier for a lot of people to trade above. Seeing something go above $100, if it does break above, it could be rocket fuel. If it doesn't break above, could be very bad for Solana. But none of these other resistances so far have stopped it, and it's broken through huge levels of resistance, and it's sort of back to, pre-bull run levels of price. If we turn off the logarithmic here so we get a more realistic look at the price, it looks like the same movement Solana had, leading up to, during its bull run. That's literally what, this spike looked like here. It's the same type of movement, just huge move upwards. Now, we've still got a long way to go, as we can see here, like we're about a third of the way there. And from Solana's current price, it's only a 161% move to the upside. Now, I know only a 160% move to the upside, but in crypto these things aren't too uncommon. And the fact that, let me just change it logarithmic again, the fact that we've come from $15-13 down here and we're now at $100, that's like a 600% move in the space of a few months, since June or July. It's just crazy. And even before, Solana was even lower at $8. Which goes to show how far it fell from its sort of $250, $260 range. But it does seem to be recovering very well at the moment. And again, it's just sort of one of these moves where, there's no point really trying to graph it or bind it to a range, because anything can happen. And again, not to be a downer, but red candles can play out the exact same as these green candles. They're just as likely, in the sense that everything that's driving these movements is speculation. And I know people seem to be very bullish and, very excited and everything's great with crypto, but you just never know what's around the corner or what might happen or what might come out to cause, terrible things. But again, there's nothing that I can foresee that will cause Solana to do extremely poorly before the bull run, to be honest with you. Now, speaking of sort of pre-bull run, we do have the halving coming up, and we don't have too much data for Solana. it launched basically before a halving, and we can see that it launched on its day, set its price, whatever, slowly trended down up until the bull run, sort of, flatlined for a few weeks after that, oscillating between a small range of 60 cent and 70 cent, and then it, took off and started to grow, and as soon as it came into the bull run, it just went crazy, and people made huge amounts of money, from trading from 60 cent to $260, you made good money if you rode that wave up for the majority, and I hope that a lot of people did. So moving back to today, we can see that we're not too far away from the halving for Solana, but it's kind of difficult to know what's going to happen. A lot of other altcoins do seem to trend downwards towards the halving, and then after the halving, like with Solana, they pick up a bit. But oftentimes, altcoins pick up, and then Bitcoin picks up. And when we take a look at the Bitcoin chart, we'll see that Solana, like a lot of altcoins, will have a good spike at the start, but Bitcoin will gain a lot of value against most altcoins. And that's when we see dominance really go up after the halving, usually. So my initial thoughts, from videos 4 or 5 months ago from now when I first started uploading to this channel, and what I thought back then, I would have assumed that during this time we would lose value on our US dollar pairs. I thought most altcoins would trend down during this time, but I also thought at this point we would be trending down already. I assumed by, November, December, we would be going down. We would be losing value on almost every altcoin, and maybe Bitcoin would just be trading sideways. I did a video over a month ago now on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I took a look at a few important charts. I did one yesterday, very brief, not very in depth, but just a bit of a recap. And we basically take a look at, previous Bitcoin halvings and how Bitcoin did and how altcoins did around the Bitcoin halvings. And they often do tend to not do brilliantly leading up to the halving, but of course this year seems to be completely different because everything's rallying and everything's going up, sort of 2x, 3x, like Avalanche is doing very well. There's a lot of other coins like BMX, Phantoms had a bit of a catch up recently. Lots of cryptos are doing very well recently, very well. To pull up a few resistance lines or support lines now, I suppose. I mean, again, currently this $100 mark should probably have some significance in Solana, and we can see we've very technically had a small little rejection from it already yesterday, but that means nothing. It could just be us sitting at a range for a little while before we eventually push above. It's obviously a point where Solana takes a break from one of these pumps. It pumped up to $100. It didn't pump above it. So that's going to be our sort of immediate zone of resistance. After that, we can probably look at literally $10 above. But again, Solana seemed to move in big pumps these last few weeks, and it's had pumps of 20%, 30%. I mean, even ones of 60%, I think. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Like up here, 100% moves in, 2 weeks, basically. So nothing is off the table. And as Solana's gone on, the pumps have been bigger. So, if we were to, say we got a 50% move from here, we'd be up to $150, $140, which is possible. But again, I wonder how much steam these moves have left. I don't want to sound like a permabull, but the environment is not good enough for a bull run right now. And while it's brilliant to see, this is doing great for my portfolio. And while it's great to see these cryptos move up, I fail to see how it's sustainable in the current economic environment, because just with America especially, still haven't had rate cuts, and even though we're not raising rates, inflation is still high and there's a lot of macro tensions. Again, it doesn't stop it during a bull run, but we just don't have that money that should be coming into crypto from, printing money. Printing money is when crypto takes off, historically. That's when it always has done well. So the fact now that we're not printing money, we're actually reducing the money supply, it seems contradictory to me. Not that we can't have these pumps, but I wouldn't expect them. So yeah, sort of supports we can expect. Zooming in again about this $80 range, so maybe we'll sort of see Solana move from $100 to $80 over the next week or two until it makes its next big move. Again, we did see, not that this is very reliable data because it's when the coin launched, but Solana did trend downwards towards the halving. So maybe we'll see, maybe $100 is where it sort of says, it was fun, see you next year sort of thing. And it just relaxes for the rest of the year. But I can't tell you. Again, we're so close to 2024 now. And New Year's, election years especially, often do very well for risk assets. People don't want, there to be like a recession when people get into power and people want to make it seem like the president's doing a good job, all this and that. So a lot of things to drive narrative. Taking a look at Bitcoin Solana pair, or the Solana Bitcoin pair, we can see a similar story. Especially when it comes to the halvings, we can see trended downward before the halving, and then an immediate pump afterwards. But like I was saying before, we have this big pump, this catch up from Solana, but then Bitcoin takes back its value. And that's literally right up until the bull run year. And then altcoins explode, often how they always do. But it just goes to show, like I've been saying, your money is usually safe in Bitcoin. And that has proven itself, because Bitcoin has been one of the top movers. And now Solana has done amazing, Avalanche has done amazing. But in general, why would you choose Solana over Avalanche? Why would you choose it over Cardano? Bitcoin's outperformed Cardano, Bitcoin's outperformed Litecoin, Bitcoin's outperformed Ethereum, Matic, all these other cryptos. Bitcoin has done well. So if you're not, too sure as to what can happen, especially with stuff like FTX, Bitcoin is usually the safer move. But that's a different video anyway. All I'm pointing out is that we have usually on Bitcoin pairs, the altcoin loses value against Bitcoin, so Bitcoin gains value against the altcoin. Then the altcoin has a pickup immediately after the halving, and then Bitcoin reclaims its value again just in time before the altcoin bull run, basically. And that's when loads of altcoins do 100x's and 50x's and all this. So yeah, zooming into where we are now, we can see that, you know, Solana again been doing very well on its Bitcoin pair, but basically ever since its peak in 2020, it still hasn't caught up to like where it was, but it has been gaining a lot of value. And this is back when Solana was $13. This was when Solana was $18. We can see bottomed out at basically the same time, and it sort of provided a resistance here at this point, not for very long, but back in April of 2021. This was when Solana was really blowing up, and again, this was when we compared this price movement on its Solana's US dollar chart to this sort of move here. If we take a fib of Solana's high on its Bitcoin pair and find out where it is now, we can see it's just finding support potentially at this 0.382 level. So maybe we'll see it move within this range. You never know. With the Bitcoin pair, it could oscillate up. It could still gain a lot of value from Bitcoin. Again, Bitcoin and Solana can still go down, and Solana can still go up on the Bitcoin pair. So, you know, on the Bitcoin pair, we could see a movement between this range. Solana could continue to gain value against Bitcoin, like it has done very well. But my assumption, especially without all this prime, you know, before this all took off, I would have assumed that Solana would bleed to Bitcoin. But there is always an exception. Again, that kind of wraps it up here. I'll pull up a fib very quickly of Solana on its US dollar pair. And again, if I put it from this low, we can see we're at a similar range. We sort of found resistance at this 0.382 level instead of just breaking above it. And we might move between the two. Now, I do think that we will probably come down to retest this level, but we might not come down soon. I think we'll probably oscillate within a range of not going too far below $80. But again, it's kind of open to your interpretation. Again, these videos are just to try and provide information for you so that you can make your own decision on what you think will happen. I'm not here to tell you what I think. Well, I'm not here to tell you what will happen. I'm here to tell you what I think might happen, but not for what you to think. That about wraps it up to this video. Again, just wanting to point out that we are still quite far away from our all-time high on Solana, even though we do have these extremely bullish moves that we are seeing. If we take a look at a few altcoins and Bitcoin as well that I want to pull out, we do often see that in 2 years after the bull run, every 2 years we have sort of a mini rally, or a rally, excuse me. And, you know, in 2021 we had our bull run, and in 2019 we had a mini rally where, you know, assets went up, but it was nothing too amazing, and they quickly came back down after a few months. So we could be seeing something like this. Again, nobody ever went broke taking profits. Do proper risk management, understand what you're getting into, and don't spend money you can't afford to lose. Thanks very much, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, comment down below what you want next, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and peace.